In this video, I'm gonna show you how to produce pop music that doesn't sound generic. And I'm gonna do it by actually opening up a real life session that I wrote and produced, and show you everything that's going on inside of it so you can understand the concepts and principles that make songs that feel interesting all the way through. Let's get started. Before we dig into this, I'm gonna show you a little of what this sounds like first, so let's take a quick listen to just a snippet of the final chorus.
I need the words to say how I'm feeling out loud. I guess I should come out and just say I love you. I love you.
Alright, so that's what we're gonna be working with in this video. So let's take a look at what actually is here before we get too deep into this, because the way I've got this session set up is I have a bunch of track stacks that are collapsing everything that we have. So let's open it all up so you can see everything that exists here. And I know you're thinking, Nathan, that looks like a lot of stuff. It's not as much as you think, and I'm gonna break it all down for you to make it as simple and easy as possible. And a lot of this too are the vocal layers. This was a duet, so we have female vocals here, and then my vocals here, and then we also did a big gang vocal track, which we consolidated into only one. Let's just go to the start of the song, take a listen, and then we'll start breaking it down.
I've tried to tell you that I love you, but you don't seem to get my drift. I feel a certain way about you, but it seems to go over your head.
Okay, so right off the bat, this is definitely a pop song, right? It's like it's a love song, but it doesn't, in my opinion, this isn't sounding like super cheesy lyrics. I feel like the lyrics are a little bit more on the witty side than cheesy, though the concept of the song is definitely a love song. But the production around this is interesting, and it keeps you wanting to see what happens next. Where are we gonna go? Where is the story gonna take us? And that's what I wanna really focus on, is how do you produce these instrumentals to make the whole thing feel interesting from start to finish. So the main concept here actually begins with these acoustic guitar instruments. Now, what a lot of producers are gonna do is they're gonna have this cool acoustic pluck, and they're gonna say, this is gonna be the foundation of the verse that we have. And then they're gonna stop there because they think, well, that works. So if you want your music to not sound generic, if you don't want it to sound like everything else, then one of the ways that we can do this is through sound choice and the way that we are blending different sounds together. So this is concept number one that we're gonna talk about in the video, which is get creative with how you are using sound. Sound is what we actually hear. So if we're hearing acoustic guitar, we're gonna be able to pick out that's an acoustic guitar. If you're using an electric guitar or a synth or whatever, like our ears are gonna pick out what those sounds are. So if we look at what's actually going on, we also blend it with this. Right? Now, if we were to have either one of those things, and that was all it was, let's just take out the acoustic guitar, for example, and just do those kind of pizzicato strings that we've got going with the vocal.
I've tried to tell you that I love you, but you don't seem to get.
Now, to me, this starts taking us into more of the, like there's like an orchestral kind of thing going on here, which I know if you know me, then you know that I can't help myself. But that's not what you probably want. You don't want to just be overtly like, this is orchestral, unless you're doing cinematic pop, which is something I do a lot of. But if we only have the acoustic guitars,
I've tried to tell you that I love you.
Not only does that just sound like one-dimensional, but with the way these guitars are sounding in particular, there's no depth to these guitars, which you could record them a little bit differently to sound different. But you put these two things together.
I've tried to tell you that I love you, but you don't seem to get my drift.
All right, so just by blending those sounds together, boom, instantly, this is starting to feel more interesting. Now, that brings us to concept number two. And by the way, we're gonna kind of be revisiting things as we do the breakdown of this song, because that's really what we're gonna be doing. We're just be breaking down and going through the song step by step to show you everything that's going on inside of it. When we get to this next section, things open up, which is the second idea, which is that if you wanna make pop music that sounds interesting, then you need to change things up either every 4 or every 8 bars. It depends on the tempo a little bit. So for example, in this, it's a little bit longer than 4 bars, right? Because the phrase is an 8-bar phrase. And when I say phrase, I mean what Sailor is singing, the vocalist, is an 8-bar phrase. It takes her 8 bars to get through that main idea that she is singing before we get on to the next idea, which is this.
And do I really have to spell it out, spell it out?
right? So now we're getting somewhere different. All of a sudden the lyrics are doing something different, the melody is doing something different, and these are good indicators in my mind. Whenever I'm producing something, I am always paying very close attention to what is the song telling me to do. In other words, is the song going somewhere different? And if the song is going somewhere different, then I should also go somewhere different. So in this case, we go from this very simple just pluck thing where it's all the same, right? And then we open it up in the second portion. So we've got an 8-bar phrase here, another 8-bar phrase here, and we're opening it up over time.
It seems to go over your head. And do I really have to spell it out, spell it out? And
so how are we actually opening this up, right? That's the big question. Well, the first thing is we are keeping the sounds that we have already introduced. So these sounds here, the strings and the guitars, are staying. But what I'm having those guitars do is slightly different. Let's take a listen. So there's the chords happening, which is, I'll show you what the chords sound like here. All right, so these are a combination, by the way, of virtual acoustic guitar as well as live acoustic guitar. I kind of like blending the two together because you kind of get the best of both worlds. But then we're also layering this more textural element, which is also acoustic guitar. So I'm using the same sound, but I'm now using it more texturally to make it more interesting. Dun, 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 right? You got that going on? And then the strings are following along with the chords that the kind of lower chord guitars are doing. And we add bass. Right? And the bass is just following along with those chords in a steady boom, 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 right? And it's just a single bass. So simple, but the bass is, if we pull this up, it's in octaves. So this is an octave bass, which is kind of cool. It makes it stand out a little bit more. If we only had that lower octave, it's not gonna pop quite as much. And then the last thing we do is start introducing what I call the textural elements, which are these keyboard elements here. If you want to create a sense of feeling, a sense of mood, a sense of atmosphere, these are the types of sounds that really, really go a long way. Because if we take these sounds out, right, and if we just play it without that, listen.
And do I really have to spell it out, spell it out? And if I tell you...
It literally sounds completely different. It sounds so empty to me. We put those back in, it's only 2 tracks.
And do I really have to spell it out, spell it out? And if I tell you, will you still be...
So think about what she's singing here. She's talking about, man, do I really have to spell this out to you? Do I really have to go that far? And it's like this kind of, she's thinking internally of what's going on inside of her mind. And I am thinking about all this as I produce. And so if you want to make music that sounds intentional, I say that word so much with our students, it's crazy. They probably get annoyed with me. But making choices intentionally is, in my opinion, a marker of a good producer. Someone who's actively thinking about, I'm going to do this because of this. I ask this question all the time to our students, which is like, hey, why'd you do that thing? And if the answer is, well, I don't know, it's like, that's not a very good answer, right? Like, you should probably have some rationale for doing the things you did, even if it's like, well, it sounded legit. Like, that's a good reason sometimes. But I like thinking through what is the song saying and how do I complement that with what's going on instrumentally. And so there we go. That's that section. The last thing we do is start introducing some percussion with this thumpy kick. Yeah.
Spell it out, spell it out. And if I tell you, will you still be down, still be down?
Great. And then that takes us into the first chorus, right?
Help me. So I guess I should come out and just say it. No use in dancing around, finding the words to say how I'm feeling out loud.
All right, we'll just do that much. And the reason we're gonna do that much is because the second half of the chorus also goes somewhere a little bit different, and I'm gonna explain why. Again, there are reasons for this. So this instrumental was super fun, right? It really kind of opens up and expands and becomes this like chordal thing, right? so we're gonna break all this down, but what I want you to do is think about what do you actually hear first, right? So I know when you're looking at a session like this, it's so easy to be like, oh my gosh, you got all this stuff, you got 4 layers of this, and you got 4 layers of that, and you got a bunch of this and a bunch of that. And then it becomes overwhelming, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do that because I can't come up with all those ideas. You don't need to come up with all these ideas, which is why I'm making this video, because it turns out that smart layering goes a long way where you don't actually have to introduce a bunch of new things. This is not a strobing lights type thing. Like if you're listening to this, when you're really paying attention, you're not thinking, oh, this is strobing lights, right? You're thinking, wow, it just kind of opens up in this moment, allows the vocal to breathe. And the way we are accomplishing this is by focusing on chord textures, okay? So in this moment, chord textures being this. Think about what is happening. Pretty much nothing. It's just chords. It's just chords, the bass, doing the root of the chords, right? Chords, right? And then what do we got here? And the guitars. Chords, except for that persistent kind of right? We've kind of got that persistent element going on here. That is actually what's creating a little bit of the propulsion in this section of the song, which is actually giving us some energy. If we were to take this out, by the way, this is what it would sound like. It doesn't sound bad, but it's quite interesting how that subtle moment, that subtle little rhythm, it kind of gives you this feeling of like we're still moving forward. The energy didn't just stop. That's it. Like we're literally looking at these acoustic strum chords, okay? Synths, chords, bass, root of the chords, right? What's going on the piano? Look at this. Chords! Really creative, Nathan, right? But it doesn't need to be complicated. The reason this sounds interesting is because the way that we are actually layering different sounds. Again, we're talking about sound, right? Sound is the thing that we're really paying attention to. And then this creates space and room for her vocal to sit on top of it without it feeling too busy. Now, the last thing we talk about in this section is percussion. So let's just take a look at what's going on at the percussion level here, just percussion. That's it. It sounds so simple. And then what we're doing on this kick, by the way, is we are side chaining these synth chords, okay? So that they kind of duck out of the way. So if we listen to synth chords, you'll hear them in relationship to the kick here. And that's allowing the kick to stand out, but it's also giving us this kind of feeling of rhythm, right? It gives the synth pads a dynamic actually. And so it's helping the synth pads feel like they're breathing. So that's another little, you know, take it or leave it kind of a trick for you, if you will. If you want it to sound like the instruments are breathing, sidechain can be a really great way of doing it. And then the side effect also is the kick now stands out too. So again, put this whole thing into context. So literally it's a kick, a little roll on the snare, and then a filtered out rim. Literally that is it. Okay, let's get to the second half of this chorus. Let's put the vocals back in so we can hear how this is working.
I guess I should come out and just say I love you. I love you.
All right, and then we get into verse 2, right? So think about this. Think about the rhythm of her vocal in the first part of this chorus.
Words to say how I'm feeling out loud. I guess I should come out and just say.
The first half of the chorus, I guess I should come out and just say it, no use in running around, right? It's this very kind of flowing melody. And then I guess I should come out and just say it, no use, right? And then
I guess I should come out and just say.
The way she sings this, to me, was indicating this is where we're gonna get the energy going because she's now getting a little bit more energetic in it. And it's also the resolution. She's actually saying, I guess I should say it. Let's just come out and say it, right? And so I'm trying to think about what is she actually saying lyrically that is going to help us feel what she's saying. Because that's a feeling so many people have, right? So when we're making music, stop thinking it's just about push this button and do this and do this. What the heck is the song saying? Are you trying to connect with real human beings? Is that not what music is? How many people have felt this way? How many people have felt like, man, I think there's something there, but I haven't said it. There's this unspoken tension romantically with somebody. Come on, don't tell me that that's not a highly relatable thing. And so all we're trying to do with the music is say, how do we emphasize that? We also have these gang vocals that get thrown in. Let's just listen to the vocals by themselves here.
I love you.
Right, so I have these big vocals and it's like this, I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna scream it out, let's do this thing, right? And so that resolve, I took that as, let's go ahead and add the energy. And so the way we're doing this is a couple things. So first of all the synth stuff stays the same, but we add more energy in the percussion. And it's actually relatively simple still. Boom, 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 ga, boom, 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 ga, right? Very, very simple, straightforward kick, rim, snare pattern. And then we got a hi-hat going on, right? Hi-hat and a little bit of a looper going on. Right? And that's it. Literally, that's it. And then the only other thing that we're doing that's a little bit different is on the guitars. We're adding more rhythm. Now it's like, let's go. Right? And then adding a little bit of a melodic element here. And notice I'm using this, it's called CP8. That was the sound. I used this instrument over here, which is the Osmos. I tied this in at this moment because that's also what's creating this kind of dreamlike feeling earlier in the verse. And so whenever I'm working on what sounds do I use and when do I use those sounds, I'm not trying to think of using different sounds all the time, again, like strobing lights. I'm trying to be very strategic about how do I introduce sounds and then how do I take them away and then reintroduce them in a way that's like, oh, that sounds familiar. I've heard this before. That is good sound choice. And so actually, it's so funny. We've had scenarios with students where they're like, I feel like I always need to find new sounds for every section. It's like, actually, no, you should be looking at the sounds you've already introduced and say, how can I either recycle those sounds and then recontextualize them, or maybe use those sounds as more of a conceptual thing where you say, I have these types of sounds and I want to make sure I stay in the same kind of ecosystem. And then all of a sudden we wind up with this chorus that sounds very interesting.
I guess I should come out and just say I love you.
Right? And then we get into verse 2. So this is where it gets pretty fun. Now, I know you're thinking, Nathan, we're not even all the way through the song. Well, this is what I'm saying. We get to start recycling some ideas. And that's what's going to be the theme of this. Like, how do we do that in a way that doesn't feel like, oh, I see what you did there. You just reuse the same thing, right? But you don't need to get too witty with it. I think some people think that you need to be smarter than you really need to be. Well, let's get into verse 2. This is where it goes to my vocal.
The way you turn your eyes over and look at me, it makes me think of what I'm missing. I'm going crazy writing songs about you. Okay, I think it's time, I'm going for it.
Okay, completely different melody. Completely different melody, right? Let's go back to Sailor's melody.
I've tried to tell you that I love you.
Right? My melody.
The way you turn your eyes over and look at me.
Completely different melody. So the question is, why is it a completely different melody? And again, this is where we get into maybe some of the songwriting aspects of this, but it's a different melody because it's a different person singing from his perspective now. So if it's the exact same melody to me, when I wrote this song, I was thinking the guy is thinking something different than the girl. They're not thinking the same thing. Therefore, the melody should be altered. It should be different, but still feels like it exists in the same song. The way you turn your eyes over and look at me, right? Makes it feel unique. And it's now providing this visual, right? Like, I see how you're looking at me. It makes you think of what I'm missing, right? I'm missing something. But instrumentally, the structure is very, very similar as what we've introduced before with the sounds. The sounds are very similar. We got these guitars. But we get to the rhythm a little bit sooner than at the beginning of the song, because that's broken chords, whereas this chorus or this verse is actual dum bum bum bum. No strings this time. I want this to feel like I'm taking you somewhere. Where are we going? This is different. It's not quite the same. There's something about that's different, right? We're using the guitars. That sounds familiar, right? But there's no strings. That's a little different. Haven't heard that quite yet. So sometimes the omission, in other words, the removal of things, can also create uniqueness. So I don't think that adding is the only solution. Sometimes taking away is a great solution. Then the only other thing I did here was added some key elements, keys elements in here. I think it's this one thing. Yep. Which kind of has a guitar-like sound, but it's actually a keyboard. Again, it was this Osmos here. So all that, and then the kick. That is literally it. There are two things happening. The kick, and then those chords. And then it's just a couple different sounds of those chords, right? That's it. Okay, so let's put the vocal back in and let's take a better listen to what's going on here.
I'm going crazy writing songs about you. Okay, I think it's
here we
time.
go. We're getting different.
Going for it. I think I really need to spell it out, spell it out. And if I tell you, will you still be down, still be down? Cause I don't wanna lose you now, lose you now. Maybe you're starting to doubt me. So
all right, so this is where it starts getting more fun and exciting, and we're developing the idea here, which is exciting and fun. So let's just go back to instrumental only. But one thing to say, songwriting-wise, this is mirroring the pre-chorus of the start of the song. So Sailor's pre-chorus and my pre-chorus are identical. So then we have to figure out how do we make the instrumental feel interesting. So let's just the instrumental. Now, first thing is the chords are identical. Dun, 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 right? But the way I am, again, contextualizing it with sound is unique and different, and then we are adding more percussion. If we look at the first one, there's literally no percussion apart from this 4 on the floor. This time, we say, how do we actually make it more interesting than just a 4 on the floor? So, I mean, this is fun stuff, man. Like, we got that 4 on the floor going. We got some of these toppers going on here. Kind of creates this nice sense of rhythm. And then we've got this rolling snare, which kind of sounds almost like a little like dead marching snare going on. Got this rim in here. Just this filtered out rim with some reverb on it. Kick. Percussion. Right, and that's it. But it's enough to make it sound really interesting. It's like, oh, we got these textures going on, and it's more rhythmically textural than it is like hi-hat, kick, snare. Like, and again, if you want your percussion to sound interesting, do more than just hi-hat, kick, snare. Actually, a lot of these auxiliary elements are what make it feel so exciting and interesting and unique. Bass, same as the first one, right? Strings, same as the first one. Guitars, same as the first one. So where are we different? Well, we're different in the keyboards, actually. Let's take a listen to what's going on in the keyboards. Right, we have a little bit more. It's almost like a little counter melody going on here, right? We put it all together and we have something that sounds quite a bit different than the first pre. The first pre.
And do I really have to spell it out, spell it out?
Mine.
I think I really need to spell it out, spell it out. And if I tell you, will you still be down, still be down?
Also, notice there was a little bit of a lyric shift. She says, do I really need to spell it out? It's a question. The guy is saying, I think I need to spell it out. So again, like there's like different ways that the two are thinking, right? So just, you know, fun songwriting stuff. And then the chorus. This is where we come together vocally and we sing together.
So I guess I should come out and just say it. No use in running around, finding the words to say how I'm feeling out loud.
Now, obviously there's a lot of vocal stuff going on here, and I haven't really broken down the vocals. I want to focus mostly on the instrumental production, but you can see there's a lot of vocal layers going on, and we are singing this together. There's harmonies, there's doubles, there's octaves, and a lot of fun stuff. Instrumentally in this chorus, the primary difference is actually drums. We start the drums right away. Right? And this time we actually have a nice snare. Right? This is the snare here. We layer that with the rim, which is adding a little bit of sizzle on the top end. Actually, it's not even doing that much. And then we have this fat kick, right? Nice. Hi-hat. Simple. Simple. Over here now. And that's the energetic one. And then we have these occasional cymbal hits, right? And And by the way, I'm a big fan of using transitions. Makes it feel so much more interesting and exciting. And if you're not using transitions, you should. Like, what are you doing? Come on. Bass, all the synth stuff's basically the same. Guitar stuff, pretty much the same. Like most of this is the same. It's just the excitement and energy on the vocals is different, and then the drums is different. So again, it's not how do I make every single little thing different, but instead it's like how can you either take things away or put things in or plug it in a little bit differently here, or what if I just tweak it a little bit here and here and here, right? And that takes us to the final part that we're gonna talk about, which is the bridge.
I think I really need to spell it out, spell it out.
And do I really have to spell it out, spell it out?
And if I tell you, will you still be down, still be down?
And if I tell you, will you still be down, still be down?
Cause I don't wanna lose you now, lose you now. Maybe you're starting to doubt me.
What is this? Well, this is actually just the pre-chorus repackaged. Do I really have to spell it out, spell it out? I think I need to spell it out, spell it out. And now we're going back and forth. Question, comment, question, comment, question, comment between the two vocalists, which is, again, I think pretty fun on the songwriting level. It is the exact same chords as the pre-chorus. The only difference is that it's a little bit more string focused this time. And the strings, rather than doing these little plucky strings, are doing actual like bow. Bum, 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 right? Spiccatos. Right? Guitars. The same. Keys. Bass. Percussion. Now, clearly, there's a dynamic happening here as well. And that's the other thing. This is dynamics. The ups, the downs, the lows, the highs, the peaks, the valleys. If you want to make pop music that doesn't just sound like every other pop song, have dynamics, have expression, have it feel like you're getting taken on a unique journey instead of just like, you know, that's boring. The only other sound that is different and new that we have not heard yet are these toms. Right? Which are these dead toms that I found. This is from Circle Strums.
I think I really need to spell it out, spell it out.
If we take those out, it just takes away a lot of energy.
I think I really need to spell it out, spell it out.
And do I really have to spell it out, spell it out?
There you go. And so when you look at this and you think about everything that we've talked about so far, you might be thinking, Nathan, there's a lot going on. And hopefully after watching this video, you'll recognize there's not as much going on as you think. If you want to see another breakdown, you should watch this video right here. It's free.